On many hats, Dr. Singhvi, let me just take you back a few months when the Supreme Court said that the Speaker was entirely flawed in allowing the whip to be appointed from the Shinde Sena faction in the Maharashtra matter, and referred the Speaker's case to a larger bench. You came out of the Supreme Court hearing and you said that what moral or legal right does this government has to continue even for one more minute? So, Dr. Singhvi, if that is the case, then what the addenda to this government, these new MLAs who are joining, the new faction who is joining, I mean, what are we looking at legally, politically, ethically, in your view, since you don many hats?
Look, first let me start by saying that I will, of course, deal with your question immediately. Since I am already involved in this case, both professionally and otherwise as an advisor, I will not be able to deal with the nitty-gritty of the strategy or give you details which is not fair for me to share with you. But let me start by saying legally what is the position and then add politically. Or let me turn it the other way around. Let me start politically. See, politically, there are 3 or 4 facets. A, you use the word ethics. You use the word generally what is the political perception. Now, there are 3 or 4 facets. Facet number 1, this government has now elevated itself to the world's best university with the highest degree of postdoctoral, even beyond PhD, in manipulating majorities. You have seen this from Karnataka starting long ago, through Goa onto the northeast and in Maharashtra earlier. Now today you have possibly the zenith of the misuse of that particular power. One person chooses some allegedly X, Y, Z, 10, 20, 30 MLAs and says, I am the boss of this party. The NCP may be lax. The NCP may have lots of people in and out of assembly. But for him, his self-declaration, self-anointment, and lo and behold, before that self-anointment, self-declaration is over, he is picked up and sworn in as a cabinet minister by the ever-waiting BJP, which first did exactly the same for Mr. Shinde. Number 2 facet is the hypocrisy, the utter hypocrisy of lampooning people on alleged corruption charges, making all kinds of, the kind of purple passages used, and then immediately becoming sleeping bedfellows with them. You can imagine the ethics word you use is an oxymoron. It's a funny word for you to use. Number 3, I think for a person who has so much respect in Maharashtra, and I can tell you one thing, irrespective of party, even BJP, even completely opposing parties in Maharashtra, one person who has special place in that politics is Sharad Pawar. Therefore, I don't think political perception anywhere is lacking in huge sympathy and support for the so-called Sharad Pawar group. He has, at the minimum, been much worse than A2 Brutus, stabbed badly in the back by people whom he has built up. And done in an obvious manner, not really by Ajit Pawar, not really by Shinde, but above all, by the BJP machinery. These people are ultimately puppets. The master puppeteer is behind. The master puppeteer is not even the BJP. They are 1.5 or 2 people in Delhi. Now, therefore, given this political perception, now come between political to legal, the graded movement from there is that it is clearly an unconstitutional swearing in. It's clearly an unconstitutional installation. I was saying the other day, I heard this great remark by Mr. Shinde. This is a triple engine Sarkar now. It's a great remark. When your first 2 floors are illegal without a completion certificate, without an occupation certificate, you then brazenly, while living in that without occupation certificate, without building sanctioned house, build a 3rd floor illegally. That is the meaning of this triple engine Sarkar. In the first matter, everything barring one issue was held against them. Frankly, no moral authority, no so-called ethical responsibility lay after that first judgment. Now you've gone and built a new floor on an already unethical building. And you are talking of triple engine Sarkar. So I think this swearing in is unconstitutional. Eventually, it will go to the courts. Eventually, the courts will have to rule on the core question whether this whole process was right. Before that, of course, you will have fracas in the election commission. You will have fracas about all these property, name, symbol, party, blah, blah. And there, I think, again, Mr. Ajit Pawar's group and the BJP support which is being generated for them are in for a nasty shock and surprise. You know, by any normal means of adjudication, the EC should never be holding a small group which self-declares itself as the party.